All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome you all to the final talk of the summit 2020. And before I start, huge thanks to Rob, Jack, and everyone else involved in making the summit a success. My name is Aparna, and I'm part of Quality Horizontal team. Joined Trainline 2.5 months back, and I feel myself fortunate that I joined in the right time so that I could witness a lot great talks, and also I could be part of this. So today I'm giving a talk on introduction to visual testing, adding eyes to your test. So in the next 30 minutes, we will discuss what and why of visual testing, how does it work, common visual testing tools, and of course, benefits of it. So before we begin, let's start with a fun game. I'm not sure how many of you are real donuts fans out here, but let's just take this at two different images and try to find the difference of these two. So I'm opening up a poll. You could enter the options. I hope this works. I'm launching it. So if you can find the difference with the options 4, 5, 6, 7, how many differences you can see, you could enter that. I could give some seconds. Cool. Yeah, almost near. Okay. Great. Okay, a couple of more seconds. Almost near. All right. So I think 76%, 78. Yeah, I'm just ending it here and let's see the result. So I could see that unfortunately no one has entered the correct answer. So the correct option is 7. Let's see what is it, right? So let me end this polling. Let's see what are those, right? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, you don't have to feel bad that you don't find those differences. But let's see what are those differences. Of course, you would have probably identified this. There is an air bubble missing in the second image. And the second difference is that if you look at the hull of that white donut, there are some beads missing in the first one, whereas few are here. It's so minute. And the third one is that there is an extra air bubble in this donut, second one, but in the first one it is not there. Fourth one, there is a reflection of light, which is not in the second one. And the fifth one is the hall is missing. Probably everyone would have got this one. It's not there in the second. And the sixth one is that there's a small paper piece you see here. It's not there in the second one. And of course, the last one, everyone would have identified that the portion of donut is not in the first one and it's present in the second one. So we have a lot of fun games like this available in internet, and it's really fun to play, right? We get a lot of notifications that how intelligent you are. You could actually find all the differences if you are so intelligent kind of notification, but this is just a game, like it's not measuring the intelligence. Um so the game is over, but let's take a story. Like since we are seeing donuts, let's consider a story that you are finding a store, one of your favorite bakery near to your store, your house, and then you are going to buy a donut, and you expect that that donut has to have a taste which is in your mind is like very sweet and sugary, but unfortunately, after you paid for that and you had a bite of it and you find it's not sweet and it's something like tastes like a raw dough. So, of course, you would not be happy and you would be really surprised. And if you are in the store, you will go back to the store and then you will ask what happened and you will probably raise a complaint. And if it is repeatedly happening, you probably stop going to the store and then you probably recommend others not to go there because they are not selling the right product. So this is a case with anything, not just with Donets, but any application that we use. And we are in a digital world, and we use a lot of digital applications and gadgets in our day-to-day lives, right? So as an end user, we expect to see certain functionalities to work as we expect. And similarly, we expect to see certain things that we expect to see, right? We don't want to see the differences which we are not expecting in the application that we are using. And we all are in a customer-centric world. We all are part of uh, a chain where we all work for uh, customers. Everything has an end user, right? And be it us or maybe a different person, every product that we build has got a customer, and we have to make customer happy. And if customer is happy, everyone is happy. And the scariest thing is for any business is losing a customer, and we don't want to lose a customer just because of the expectation mismatching. So we do a lot of work. We work hard to make we have a good product. We write code if we are building an application. Even if we are not building an application, we are doing something else, we test it. If we are cooking something, we taste it, right? And before we serve to someone else, we taste it. We make sure that it's fine. Similarly, for any application as well, like we write tests, we automate a lot. In fact, for applications, we do a lot of testing, starting from unit testing, functional testing, regression testing, API testing, performance testing, exploratory testing. We have a lot of testing phases, in fact, to make sure that the functionalities that we are planning for that application is working as expected. But what if things like this, if you can find a problem in this image, I'm not sure it's that it visible, but there is a layout issue. There's a vertical layout issue in this page. I'm not sure that any of your functional tests will catch this problem, because we all focus on the functionality of the application when we are uh, testing it, because we don't really care about how it looks most of the time. And things like this, see, if there is a text field here, text box here, which is overlapping on the text keyword. So most of the time when we do functional testing, we enter a keyword, we hit the search button, and then we validate the results. Fine, the test is passed, there are no bugs, and we are happy, we release to production. That's how it works. And similarly, like this, like it's completely overlapping, and it really hard to read what is in the web page. It's really hard to read it because it's completely overlapped. And things like this, after you add product to the cart, it's overlapping on the uh, screen. So like you will not be able to scroll up, and it's really annoying as well when you are using a mobile app, but it's not something you're expecting. Similarly, if we have a website which is rendering on two different browsers, which will have some alignment issues, like this screenshot particular showing Firefox as well as Internet Explorer, and we know that browser engines are different, and so the rendering will be different. So these are not something cannot be classified as minor cosmetic issues. Few of the issues we really have to pay for that. Like it really matters when it comes to the end user customer experience. So because of such issues, some visual bugs, we are losing potential customers if we are ignoring this. But how can we identify these problems and fix it before it goes to production? So it's really hard if we cannot find it in our usual testing, right? But fortunately, we have a method called visual testing, which is available and is a method to ensure that your app appears to the user as you intended. So that says it is completely focusing on visual, how it looks. So there comes another question: why can't functional test cover visual issues? So it's not that functional testing cannot cover visual issues, we could, but most of the visual issues are rendering issues, right? So to have rendering issues to be covered in our functional test, we have to have certain checkpoints in our test. The checkpoints are like whether it is visible, true or false, or it is in the right coordinate. It has got XY coordinates and height, width, and background color of it. So imagine you have 20 visual components, and you have to have uh, for each component this 5 assertion, that you are actually putting 100 extra lines of assertion code to validate this. But is that enough? But will you be able to actually cover issues like an element overlapped with another element, and probably in our logo if some extra line is missing, or maybe a dot is present, or the logo itself is missing? So it's really difficult to identify them. And also, if we have 100 OS browser screen size, orientation, font size changes, how do we validate that? We end up writing thousands lines of code, or maybe more than that, to cover that. And is that something feasible? No, right? I mean, we cannot guarantee that even if we write a lot of code, we are covering all the visual validations of it. And plus, if there is a daily release going on and things change repeatedly, how do we maintain it? So maintenance become a sheer madness. So that's why we are saying visual testing is important. So that summarizes why visual testing is important. Visual testing is important mainly because it gives user experience. So to have user experience along with functional, we ensure that functionally the app is perfect. We have to ensure that it looks perfect. It looks the way that user is expected to see. And also we have responsive design nowadays, right? For everything goes responsive, every multiple devices, multiple channels accessing the same application. So we have to ensure that the application which we are building is rendering right on every platform that we choose. So it's easy that if we just have one OS, one browser, one app which has got one image, so we don't really have to do another visual testing, because we can actually do that validation in your function test. Maybe just one image, five assertion is fine, right? And if it is something maintainable. But what if you have hundreds of OS, browser, and channel versions? How do we maintain that? So that becomes really, really difficult, that it is practically not possible to have that maintained in one code. So we have to have another mechanism in place. That's why visual testing is important. And also, if we have a rapid change, daily release going on, it's really difficult to maintain that image change or color change. Another interesting factor is that multi-variations. We know we all do, most of the business will do A/B testing. Like we have variations of two different variations of one page, and we go for a poll. We'll see how much traffic it is coming for one variation, and we choose that. It's very normal. But how do we know that if, say for example, if we have two variations, A and B, and people would have gone for B, and we choose B. That's nothing wrong about it. But how do we know that people choose B just because that option A has got a visual bug in it? Maybe the layout is not proper, or maybe the color is not right, or maybe it's overlapping the content. So it's practically very difficult to have functional tests to cover that, because the variation is a very temporary thing, which we cannot invest a lot of time for doing each variation testing in functional testing, because we know that things will change, right? So it is also important to have A/B testing validated with a visual testing, to ensure that whatever we are giving to the tester, people to use, is not having a visual bug. We are giving a product with no visual bug, and then they are there to choose what is comfortable for them. So yeah, these are the things which are really important, and this makes visual testing important. So normally, how does visual testing work? We have a application under test, so we can take screenshots of that, and basically it's a screenshot testing. Like we know how we want to see the application. We have a reference, and then we make a change, and then we test against that baseline. We call it as a baseline, and we compare and we report any differences found. And if there is no difference, we're happy. Everything is working as expected. And if we think that the new change is better than the baseline and it can be accepted, we can make this new change as a new baseline. So that's how it normally works. So 4 steps, very simple: drive application under test, take screenshot, compare screenshot, report differences, and update baseline if required. So how do we do that? This is a very small example of a very basic example of how does it work. Normally we have a reference image and a test image, and any tool, anything that you use for validating the visual differences will highlight the differences in this way. So this is a layout difference. If you're happy with it, you can accept. If you're not happy, you can go back and fix it. So how do we actually validate this? If functional testing cannot cover, how can we actually cover this bug? So there are certain tools available. There are a lot, in fact. So I'm just listing few of them, like ImageMagick, Resemble.js, LinkDiff, Backstop.js, and WebDriver CSS. So these all are great. They have got their own advantages and disadvantages in their own way. But the problem is that they all have pixel to pixel comparison, and we know the problem with pixel to pixel comparison is that it tends to give a lot of false positive scenarios. So that means we have to really spend again time to understand whether it's a false positive or it's a real issue. So it's really difficult, but most of the people will actually follow pixel to pixel comparison, just thinking that it's a screenshot comparison. And not knowing what the issue, will probably brainstorm a lot to identify issues. This has happened actually when we upgraded the browser version. We had a screenshot taken in one of the Chrome version, and then we upgraded the Chrome version. When we compared, it's the same browser, so we expected that things to be same, but things changed because while updating the Chrome version, some of the things have changed, and then that caused pixel to pixel comparison, pixel changes, and that resulted a failure in the visual test. So then what do we do? If we cannot rely on pixel to pixel comparison, and how do we actually do the screenshot comparison? So fortunately, we have a tool called Applitools, which has got its artificial intelligence AI algorithms to compare the two, so which is better than the pixel to pixel. Even though we have to spend time to identify whether it is an actual bug or not, still we can rely on the results. It's not giving the false positive. So it's a AI driven image comparison tool, and it has got its SDK called ICE SDK, Applitools ICE SDK, which gives a variety of options to use with any technology, any modern technology that doesn't scope. And even if you do not have any particular framework or technology available, you can actually use something like it has got a jar file. So suppose if you have just your PDFs or screenshots available, you can do that comparison with that jar file. So you don't really have to have programming and coding for that. So let's see how it works. I'll just share my another browser screen. So, yep, so this is how, I hope you can see, and the recording is still on. Yeah. Yep. So this is how Applitools dashboard will look like. There are n number of ways to upload images to it. I'm not going into the technical implementation of it because there are a lot of options available. If you have a framework which is on Mocha or WebDriver.io or Jasmine, anything, you can actually use this SDK, and you can also use, as I said, like we can also, even if you do not have any test automation framework, of just screenshots available, we can use its jar file to upload images. It compares and gives us back. So first time when we are running a test, so for this example, I've used WebDriver.io test. So first time when we are uploading images, it's a baseline. So it takes, this test had two screens. So one is the login form, another one is a result page. So it takes that screenshot as baseline. First image is created, so it marked as a new one. And next time when we are testing it against a checkpoint image, it compares and gives us the result in this format. So if you see here, we have got few differences. So this first image is always called baseline, the second one is called checkpoint. And if you highlight the differences, you could see a couple of differences in this two pages. Logo is missing, and the text is missing. Color is changed, and also there's a remember me is overlapped to the button. So a couple of problems. Now, by default, as I said, it's a AI based comparison. So it has got 4 different algorithms basically, which are called exact, strict, content, and layout. Strict is something like which kind of simulating human eyes, and which ignores certain things which we cannot see. Uh, so which validates everything, content, color, layout, positioning, everything will be covered with strict. And exact is something which we have discussed, the pixel to pixel comparison. If I select exact, you can see the differences, how it is. So every white space differences will also be counted in this. So it is really hard to distinguish what is the real issue. Another thing is content. Content algorithm is something which is similar to strict, but it ignores color differences. And layout is something which just focuses on the layout differences alone. There is nothing with respect to content will be validated. So we have a few issues with the layout, so it highlights here. And interestingly, there is another thing. It has got few features like ignoring a region. Suppose we know that in our application certain things are dynamic or not dynamic, dynamic, can actually be changed very often and can be ignored. We can define that region as ignore, something like this, and we update the baseline. So from next time onwards, it will not validate that particular area. It will be completely ignored. Similarly, if something is dynamic, floating, like moving object, a banner or something like that, we know this, suppose if this logo will appear, can be appear here or maybe here, it may be probably floating through the page. How do we validate normally? It is very tough, right? Because when the time of taking the screenshot, it will be here. Maybe when running the test, it might come some other place. So how do we validate in such cases? Normally, it fails. In every validation, it tend to fail. So we can do one thing. We can actually mark that as floating region. So it's really a nice feature, because we can mark that image as a floating image, and also we can say in what area it will actually move. So something like we can increase the size of the floating region. So from this area to that area, wherever that image appears, the test will mark it as passed, and that differences will be ignored. So there are many more features, not going into every detail of the tool, but it's nice to explore more and know more about it. And I'll just cover one more portion, that is A/B testing, because we can actually have a multivariation testing incorporated with Applitools as well, because we can manage different baseline variations of single page, and can be incorporated in one test, which is a cool feature again. So that's about Applitools, and of course it can be integrated with the Jira and our continuous integration platforms. So you can actually view the results over there directly. So with that, let me go back to the presentation. And so let's see the benefits of visual testing. So we have covered why is it important. So the first and foremost benefit is that a single test gives maximum coverage, because as we see here, it is really not difficult to do anything else. We don't have to write a lot of assertions here. We just have to call that SDK and it does the comparison. That's it. So we the complete page, everything, color, coordinates and font size, layout, everything will be covered in one test. We don't have to write a lot of tests for that, and one just single line of code to cover hundreds of pages and noise browser variation. That's the biggest advantage of that. And we can also have any small differences, like any small rendering issues will be caught by the visual bugs, so which actually increases the user experience. And as I said before, like for any business, like customer satisfaction is most important thing. And it is not that functionality works when everything is good is not something which is right. We have to actually have how it appears, because we have multiple gadgets and responsive designs, and application can be accessed in different platforms, so it is important that it looks well as well. And we can also say that the visual testing is kind of advanced functional test, because tools like Applitools gives us a feasibility to integrate with our functional tests. So suppose if you have an end-to-end test doing, let's take an example of doing a search or adding a product to the cart. And we see that we are searching for a product, and we feel that that search bar image has to be validated because it looks something different from the previous or production version. So we can actually have just one call to the Applitools eyes and then take a screenshot of it and compare. We don't really have to compare. Applitools compare for us, so we can integrate that with our end-to-end test as well. So it gives uh, extra bonus of having advanced functional test with this. And we can also do comparison of visual elements across multiple browsers. It's not something specific to one browser. Any browser, any OS, anything can actually be validated. Plus, it's not just for a web or mobile. You can actually do PDF validation as well. So for example, if we have an insurance provider, and insurance provider will give a lot of PDF documents, and if we want to compare the PDFs, we can actually leverage Applitools for that as well. It's not just for web view. And it because it uses its artificial intelligent algorithms, it gives improved accuracy of checks, and also everything resulted to improved product quality and user experience. So with that, we are almost coming to end of the show. So let's make our apps visually perfect, along with when we are building apps and when we are ensuring apps functionality. So it's really important. It's really important to have our apps looks visually perfect. All right. So thank you. Thanks everyone for attending my talk. I would really like to see the feedback. We have a feedback form available. For any questions, for any further discussions or any opinions, I'm available over Slack, and I'll also open up a thread in our channel. Otherwise, I can be contacted on LinkedIn or Twitter. It's there on the presentation headshot slide. So thanks again. Thank you all.